Chapter 7. Daniel followed Jason into their apartment, distracted enough by his concern for Anna that he didn't notice when his son left him standing alone just inside the doorway. She had called before lunch to tell him about her suspension and that she planned to meet up with Lisa. Since then, his mind had pored over the numerous possibilities of what might happen next, everything from Anna quitting her job and moving on to a new, more peaceful career, to some kind of fantasy in which he helped her clear her name and bring Naomi White to justice. Anna had fueled such fantastical thoughts by telling him the details of the case the day before. She and Lisa suspected a bigger terrorist organization had been behind the attempted hit on Shaw, though they hadn't identified any specific motive. He wasn't sure it mattered. People who wanted to remove Shaw from authority were easy to find, but who would go so far as murder? And who could inspire a person like Ben Jacobs to take his own life in the process? The questions about Anna's case rattled around inside Daniel's mind, not the first time since they'd gotten together. She often shared tough work problems with him, regardless that doing so was a clear violation of agency guidelines. From the beginning of their relationship, neither of them kept secrets from one another, and she found his contributions during her investigations helpful. They each used different approaches for problem solving, and he sometimes had ideas she or Lisa didn't. They were careful, however, to keep Jason out of it. From what Anna told him about the conversation with Guerrero, Daniel had concerns. He knew all about the boundaries his wife had pushed at work, running unauthorized mods and operating in gray areas when the black and white nature of her job made doing the right things difficult. Guerrero implied Anna hadn't flown under the radar as much as she'd believed, and Daniel had always suspected this might be the case. Her agency had quite a few intelligent people, and with years of bending the rules, someone was bound to catch on. Now they might burn her for actions they tacitly supported and benefited from. Anna was skilled at many things, but maneuvering through interagency politics was not one of them. An incoming notification grabbed his attention, and he realized he was standing by himself in the foyer. He had no idea how much time had passed since he'd arrived home. Checking the name, he pushed thoughts about Anna and her agency out of his mind and answered the call. Marcus. Daniel, how's it going? The answer to that question is more complicated than it should be. Marcus was a longtime friend. They'd met in college when Daniel studied programming and Marcus played football. Paired together as roommates by the university, they got along well despite their different focuses. In those days, Daniel planned for a career writing code and Marcus pursued professional football. Neither man had achieved his dream, and now Daniel taught middle school social history while Marcus, after years of trying to break into professional sports, stayed at home to parent his now 2-year-old son. Marcus hadn't detected the unease in Daniel's answer and proceeded with his near-constant bright energy. Complicated sounds about right given the mess Abigail and I have been watching on the news. I won't lie, we were excited to see Anna out there protecting our city's greatest asset. Daniel groaned inwardly at the notion that Shaw was the city's greatest asset, but appreciated the overall sentiment. Jason and I are proud of her. It's nice for Anna to get some recognition for the hard work she does. How's Jackson? Great. Doctors say he's thriving. Been talking for almost a year now and always full of energy. Good news. I'll bet you're exhausted with Abigail back at work. It's been an experience, no doubt, but we're doing all right. Look, I won't keep you, but I just wanted to call with an invitation. Oh? What did you have going on? Have you heard of a better way? Daniel thought he had, but couldn't be certain. A newer protest group? Pro-democracy? Nah, they want changes, but nothing like that. I'm still learning the details myself, but Abigail's been going to meetups for a while. There's one this weekend, and Abigail wants to make a night of it with you and Anna. We can go to the meetup and then eat dinner afterward. For us, it'll be the first time going out since she started getting a paycheck again, so she figured we should celebrate, and these better way get-togethers are something she's excited about. Daniel wasn't enthusiastic about the meetup, but understood Marcus and Abigail's desire to go out after 2 years of living on basic income, as well as his friend's desire to support his wife's newest passion. Sure, I'll talk to Anna and see if we can work it out. We'd love to join you guys. Good deal, bud. It's Saturday night at 7, so check your calendar and get back to me. Will do. Daniel was ending the call when the apartment door disassembled and Anna stepped through, catching him by surprise. Though her hair was a bit tangled and exhaustion lines crossed her face, her manner had a levity that surprised him. Clearly startled to find him lurking in the entryway, she smiled and cocked her head. He stepped forward and drew her in close, inhaling her fragrance as he kissed her behind the ear. Hey, lover. Hey, lover. She giggled and hugged him back, her body slackening as she rested in his arms for a few moments. He gave her a handful of seconds, then pulled back to look into her eyes. Long day? Long day, she sighed. It'll be okay, though. There's a plan. About to ask what she meant, he was interrupted by Jason, who now stood in the living room. Mom! Hi, kiddo. She flashed him a broad smile, hung up her coat, then moved into the living room and squeezed him tightly. How is school, now that you're back at it? He grinned. I've learned the value of no comment, because, Mom, you're very popular. Everyone wants to know all about it. And what do you tell them? He took on an affected voice, sounding like a cartoon. The truth. I don't know nothing. Daniel and Anna both laughed, and then Jason joined them, cackling at his own humor. When the laughter tapered off, Anna turned to Daniel. Who were you talking to? Marcus. He and Abigail saw you on the news, and I guess it inspired them to invite us out to dinner with them. Oh, that will be nice. How are they doing? Good. From what I can tell, Abigail's back at work now. That's the reason for the dinner invitation. But Marcus seems to be handling the transition to full-time dad well enough. Big changes. Anna gave Jason a knowing look. You can ask your dad all about what that was like. Jason pointed to himself, eyes twinkling. It was all worth it to get this, right, Dad? Daniel chuckled. Worth it. He paused for effect. For the most part, at any rate. There was that time you transformed my workshop into the Dr. Milhouse treehouse. We don't talk about that. Anna smiled and poked their son. That's when we moved from workshop to tinker room, if I recall. Daniel remembered the event with stunning clarity. Yep, we never got it back the same, but truth be told, it was an improvement. It feels more in tune with my brain. He eyed Anna. The dinner invitation came with one slight wrinkle. They want us to attend a meetup with them, some group called A Better Way. Have you heard of them? Her forehead creased. Maybe? The name sounds familiar. I think they've sprung up in the past year? Jason chimed in. I have. My friend Jeremiah talked about A Better Way a month or two ago. His family has been going to meetups. It sounds like church. Daniel shrugged. I guess we'll find out this weekend. I'll admit, I'm not enthused about the idea, but I suppose we can handle it for their sake. Anna's head bobbed. Of course. It's been a while since I've seen them, so I'll be happy to go. The conversation continued, tracing the events of each of their days. Daniel's curiosity at Anna's mention of a plan gnawed at him, but he knew they couldn't discuss it in front of their son. After dinner, as Jason dove into his homework, he followed Anna into his tinker room, assembling the door behind them to talk without being overheard. As usual, electronics in various states of disassembly were strewn about the room. It hadn't always been like this, though. After college, Daniel had maintained an organized workspace for learning, practicing, and improving his coding. Bright-eyed and hopeful, he'd aspired to work for Feeney, a highly selective employer. Feeney didn't have many positions for programmers, and the positions they did have were demanding. Its corporate strategy focused on hardware assembly and letting other companies add code to MMDs downstream to make them functional. This concentration on physical design enabled Feeney to stay ahead of everyone else in the world and churn out newer and better hardware every year. No other company had the resources to keep up. The handful of programmers that Feeney did employ busied themselves with the complex work of coding MMDs to assemble other MMDs, the most challenging and specialized form of software development. In the end, Daniel hadn't made the cut, a blow to his long-held dream. After he and Anna started dating, she tried getting him employment at the agency as a data tech, but that hadn't worked out either. For a few years, he had been a stay-at-home dad when Anna went back to the agency after Jason was born, then finally found his professional calling as a teacher of social history after Jason started school. Throughout all of this, he still enjoyed tinkering in his office, breaking down old MMDs and seeing what he could make them do. During his elementary school years, Jason had once gotten hold of one of the MMD projects Daniel hadn't secured well enough and managed to use it in an attempt to change the room into a copy of the Dr. Milhouse treehouse from the popular children's vid series of the same name. Benches were transformed to slides and pictures into murals of trees. It was a mess and not at all well done. Most of it was non-functional, slides going from nowhere into walls and such. When fixing the room, Daniel decided to remodel it as something to share with his son, giving Jason his own workbench so they could do MMD tinkering together. It remained a shared activity for them on weekends, though as of late, Jason's interest had waned. His peers regarded programming as a feminine occupation, and he'd started looking at other hobbies. Daniel found this maddening, but understood how hard it was to swim against the tide of public perception, particularly for someone as young as Jason. Even such forward-thinking companies as Feeney, it was in the name after all, struggled to overcome gender biases. Daniel found his usual seat while Anna cleared off Jason's bench. You mentioned a plan? She produced a light-hearted smile. We decided to trump Guerrero. In what way? Savitri Shah. She delivered the name as if she'd revealed a winning poker hand. These people tried to kill her, and she's not going to want me sidelined after I saved her life. She won't let Guerrero derail an investigation trying to bring me down. She can get my suspension lifted. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. Honey, is that wise? She frowned. Why wouldn't it be? I'm wondering if Shaw is someone you want to be associated with. I could do worse. She's one of the most powerful politicians in the world. She is. I worry her kind of power might be a double-edged sword, though. Her frown deepened. What does that mean? He shook his head. I don't know. It's just my gut. What if at some point she asks you to do something you don't want to do, but you feel obligated? What if she turns her power on you? Why would she? From what I've seen, she's done nothing but good things for our city, for the country even. Why would you assume the worst of her? I'm not. I promise I'm not. It's only, no one rises as high as she has without hurting people. I don't believe that. You don't want to believe that, and I understand why. You have this connection to her because you saved her life. You feel responsible for her. But if she gets involved with you personally, that could backfire. I'm asking for her to step in to keep an investigation from being derailed. Her face grew hard. She was getting angry. An investigation that concerns her own life. Daniel sighed, frustrated at his inability to make her see his point. I'm sure she'll do it, honey. But if she steps in for you, people are going to associate you with her policies and actions. Do you want everything that comes with that? It's not fun being sidelined. But even if you're suspended, other agents can figure this out. She bolted to her feet and glared down at him. Daniel, I need to do this. This is my job. I know you believe sometimes it's better to back down, and to you that's facing reality, but that's not me. When I don't do what I can, people get hurt. He closed his eyes, feeling the sting as if she'd slapped him. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, but we play the hand we're dealt. When I took this job, I assumed a responsibility, and it's one I take seriously. I can't do that lying around at home, trusting other people to do what I can do, especially with Guerrero calling the shots. She's a bureaucrat who won't be here forever. You can wait out her suspension. That's easy for you to say. You weren't sitting in the room with her. Daniel opened his mouth to respond, but her expression stopped him. Anger flared in her eyes, but something uncertain lurked beneath it. He recognized it, the same ugly twisted knot that had plagued his stomach all afternoon, the fear of not having a chance to act when someone he cared about was going to be hurt. Anna had tucked that fear behind the imposing might of Savitri Shah, and now he was poking at it, forcing her to confront the possibility of stepping back and letting people down that she had sworn to protect. He shifted both his body and his tone, projecting as much sympathy into his words as he could. Anna, I'm sorry. You do what you need to do. I shouldn't have said anything. Daniel, I'm not silencing you. I know, but you're right. I wasn't there. If you think this is the best thing to do, I'll support you. She eyed him steadily, her voice taking on a sudden coldness. Do you know what Guerrero said to me today? She told me she wouldn't arrest me if I'd give up the martyr who did the work on my staff. Do you understand what that means? Do you still want me to lie down and take it? He took this in, pinpricks of regret swarming his skin. I didn't know that. Anyway, it's done. Lisa and I called Shaw this afternoon. She knows everything, and she's mad. She'll be at the agency tomorrow to thank us for what we did and make her position clear that Lisa and I must be assigned to this case. Guerrero's not going to like that. He nodded. No, I imagine she wouldn't. They fell into silence, Daniel peering up as she stared back down at him. He spoke into the dead air, low, deliberate, and soft. I love you. A moment passed, then her eyes relaxed and her lips parted. I love you too. A hesitation. Daniel? Yes. I'm sorry. I know you're trying to help. That's all I want to do. I need you to support me. I do. You have to understand this is the only way forward. Lisa and I are doing what we have to do. I'm with you all the way, wherever you go. Thank you. She stood still for a few seconds, then tried for a weak smile. Another pause. I should check on Jason. Of course, that's a good idea. She turned and left the room, leaving the doorway empty behind her. Daniel released a long breath of air. Anna always did what needed to be done, and yes, sometimes he didn't have the stomach for it. That's the reason she worked at the agency while he taught middle school. He loved her for that quality and envied it, but he also hoped she wouldn't regret calling in Shaw.
When Anna's bus arrived at the agency building the next morning, she immediately noticed the city council emblem on a vehicle already docked there. While the efficiency of the public transportation system in the city rendered personal cars a thing of the past for most of its inhabitants, rank did have its privileges. This one belonged to Shaw, the official vehicle she and her safety detail used to move around the city. Anna smiled with a sense of victory, imagining Guerrero's face as the councilwoman walked into the agency. When she entered the office herself, Anna found Shaw and her bodyguards standing in the common area with Guerrero and Jada, conversing with a wide smile on her face. Jada, for her part, appeared to be distracted while still doing her best to give Shaw her undivided attention. Guerrero held a polite, unemotional smile that Anna found quite satisfying. She was forced to diminish in the brilliant sun that was Savitri Shaw. Other than the few fleeting seconds before the bomb went off, Anna had never seen Shaw in person. The councilwoman was tall and thin, adorned in a colorful business dress that declared both her strength and extravagance. She'd arranged her dark hair into a smart ball at the back of her head, held in place with 2 large pins, each embellished with something that looked like flecks of gold. In another context, Anna knew she'd be put off. Shaw made no pretense of presenting herself as one of the people, and Anna distrusted excess. At this particular moment, however, Shaw was exactly who she wanted in her corner. Someone with power and I do what I want when I want money. The councilwoman's eyes fell on Anna, and she beckoned her over. Her greeting was almost a purr. "Agent Flynn, I am so very glad to meet you." Though her tone was light and positive, Anna suspected it could gain an edge when necessary. She and Shaw, of course, had spoken the day before when Anna explained the situation and how Guerrero had suspended her. Shaw wouldn't hear of it and held no concerns regarding unauthorized mods. Anna saved her life, she said, and that was the end of it. She would come to the agency in person and make her expectation clear that Anna and Lisa would be leading the investigation into the assassination attempt against her. As Shaw welcomed Anna, she betrayed no hint they'd ever spoken, drawing her in warmly with 2 hands. "Agent Flynn, you saved my life, and I wanted to take time to come here, visit the agency, and say thank you for your work." She waved her hand at Jada, still smiling. "The work from all of you, of course. I wasn't saved by one woman alone." Shaw ignored Guerrero and her plastered-on smile as if she didn't exist, and Anna had to stifle a look of triumph. Anna also noted that, as of yet, Guerrero hadn't protested her presence, and she interpreted this as a tacit lifting of her suspension. She bowed to Shaw with as much grace as she could manage. "It was my pleasure, councilwoman, and my job." Shaw wouldn't be put off. "Some do their jobs better than others, but regardless, it's important to me that your agency has everything you need for you to do the best work possible." She turned to Jada. "With such a vivid reminder of how critical what you do is, I'm sure your field office will receive an increase in funding soon. I have a very good relationship with those who see to such matters in Washington." It was Jada's turn to bow. Pushing her apparent distraction aside, she found her focus and beamed at Shaw. "Councilwoman, that means a great deal to us. We do a lot with what we have, but we can always do more if we have more." Her eyes shifted to someone behind Anna. "Oh, Agent Williams, please come meet Councilwoman Shaw." Anna followed her gaze to the front of the office where Lisa had appeared and was now moving with a slow, careful gait that spoke of her ongoing pain. The pain, however, didn't prevent a coy smile. She stared directly at Guerrero as she approached the group, then bowed to Shaw like Anna had. "Well, this is unexpected." Jada introduced her. "Agent Williams is the partner of Agent Flynn. She was shot by the same terrorists who attacked you." Shaw gave Lisa a gracious smile. Yes, I was told of your encounter with that awful man, and am pleased to thank you in person for putting your life on the line for this city. Lisa's own smile never faltered, but she did provide the obligatory, "Only doing my job, councilwoman. I'm happy you're safe." You two are too modest, but I'm aware of what you did. Please, both of you, do me the courtesy of joining me this evening for dinner, along with your significant others. This had not been part of the plan, but Anna happily accepted the gesture. Of course. Thinking about the synthetic food they'd eaten the night before, she knew whatever dinner with a congresswoman meant, it would be tasty. Lisa made her own pleasure at the idea clear. "I will be there for sure, councilwoman. No significant other." She said these last words with a touch of pride. Shaw clapped her hands together. "Oh, wonderful! I will have my secretary arrange it. I look forward to getting to know both of you more." Additional pleasantries were exchanged. Then eventually Shaw and her security detail left the agency, the levity following close behind. After she'd gone, Jada and Guerrero stepped away for a private conversation. Jada leaned in and whispered something too quiet to be overheard. Guerrero responded with narrowed eyes, and Anna tried not to pay too much attention. She struggled to imagine what they were saying and addressed Lisa to distract herself. "How are you feeling?" "Better. No crutches even. The bullet went through cleanly. I just need to take care." "That's good to hear. It was nice to meet Shaw." Lisa cackled. That look on Guerrero's face, so delicious. She glanced over Anna's shoulder, and Anna turned to see Jada approaching. Guerrero had disappeared. "Am I still suspended, Director?" Jada shook her head. "After all that display? No. Guerrero understands where the wind blows. She's mad, but she can't oppose Shaw. After Tuesday, Shaw is flying quite high in popular opinion, to say nothing of the council itself. Still, you could have at least tried to be subtle. It's pretty brazen to show up here while still officially suspended." "I felt pretty brazen." Jada shot Lisa a stern look. "You're rubbing off on her. When I put you two together, I'd rather hoped it would work the other way around." Lisa grinned. "I know a thing or two about how to handle people like Guerrero, and I haven't even met her yet." Jada grew serious. "You will now. If you're going to be on this case, we need to discuss a disturbing new development." Anna angled her head. "What do you mean?" "Follow me." Jada turned and they shuffled after her into a makeshift office, which by all appearances now belonged to Guerrero. The national director herself sat on one side of a small conference table, but two other agents were in the room as well, seated across from her, Carrie Yang and Lucas Ward. Jada joined Guerrero while Anna lowered herself into a chair next to Carrie, and Lisa took a seat beside her. Carrie's presence encouraged Anna. They'd been partners for 10 years until Jada split them up. Their work together had been excellent, but at the time, Jada told them both Lucas and Lisa needed to be partnered with more seasoned agents, so they'd been reorganized into the current configuration. Anna assumed Guerrero had assigned Carrie and Lucas to investigate the assassination attempt against Shaw in the wake of her absence. Guerrero glared at Anna, her tone acrid and hard. "Welcome back, Agent Flynn. For the moment, it appears we need to set our differences aside." Anna allowed the corners of her mouth the slightest upturn. "It appears so." Guerrero shifted her gaze to Carrie. "Agent Yang, would you like to bring Agents Flynn and Williams up to speed with what you found?" "Of course, Director." Carrie turned toward Anna. "I'm sure you and Lisa are aware Ben Jacobs left a tablet in the hotel room during the altercation. Lucas and I have been going through the data on it and have verified it belonged to Ben Jacobs. From what we can tell, it was a personal MMD tablet he'd been using for years. We encountered no illegal mods on it other than an unlock." Lisa nodded. "Which is what Naomi told us, and why she was willing to hand it over so quickly." "Precisely, but we did find something of note, a file secured by heavy encryption." Anna frowned. "What kind of encryption?" "Military grade. Not the kind men use to hide transgressions from their wives or their bank account balances. Something much stronger. We sent it to the data techs, but they've been unable to break it thus far." Guerrero interrupted. In fact, they have broken the encryption. Anna registered the shock on Carrie's face, and they both turned to face Guerrero. The data techs ran a process overnight that was finally able to open the file, and they provided it both to Director Davis and myself this morning before Councilwoman Shaw's visit. The file is a vid, and until now, only she and I have watched it. Please understand that what I am about to share with the four of you is, to put it mildly, disturbing. Anna felt Carrie tense up beside her. She gave Lisa a sideways glance and saw her own puzzlement mirrored in her partner's face. What disturbs Elaine Guerrero? Seconds later, each of their data lenses began displaying the vid. It had a home shot quality and featured a man in a dark tailored suit, viewed from the waist up against a solid light blue background. His face was framed by wavy, jet black hair, and he spoke with the voice of an orator, strong and confident, as he addressed the camera. Hello, my friend. My name is Justin Reynal, Operations Officer for A Better Way, an organization dedicated to overthrowing the tyranny of the fascist unified states and bringing democracy to our great country again. The opening line shocked Anna. She recalled Daniel telling her the night before about the invitation from Marcus and his wife to attend a Better Way meetup, but she didn't think Marcus was the type to be into something like this. This was clear dissident rhetoric. Reynal continued. If you have received this vid and have the encryption code to watch it, count yourself as honored. It means we view you as a trusted ally. If the contents of this recording were ever given to the authorities, it would mean an immediate end to all the amazing work we are doing, so our lives are in your hands. You may ask yourself, why the risk? The answer is simple. Because we must. Because our enemies are so far ahead of us, we have no other option but to take action. What I am about to show you is real footage taken from the labs of Future Is Now Incorporated. Thanks to Councilwoman Savitri Shaw, Feeney is an inseparable part of our government, yet it does not operate for the good of the common person, but rather to enrich its own board of directors and Shaw herself. This vid shows what Feeney has been working on in secret, with Councilwoman Shaw's full knowledge and endorsement. Yes, A Better Way believes in the evolution of MMD technology to make the world a better place for humanity. What you are about to see is not that. It is an evolution of violence which serves Feeney and Shaw, and no one else. Renault was replaced by a sterile laboratory with white walls and no windows, a time stamp of August 27th, 2:37 p.m., hovering in the corner of the vid. Anna saw nothing to distinguish the nondescript room from the numerous other Feeney labs she'd seen over the years. Feeney always had new hardware in development, testing out its capabilities and measuring performance metrics in clean, colorless environments, with no hint of dust or any other confounding particles which might invalidate their captured data. This room did, however, depart from other Feeney labs in its contents. While a normal lab might host a table filled with any number of objects available for manipulation, or sometimes raw materials, this one housed only an empty plexiglass pen with a side door swung open, the kind of enclosure that might be used for animals. She watched with growing unease as a woman with a white lab coat and protective goggles led a sheep into the pen and unleashed the animal before backing out and closing the door behind her. She retreated the way she came, returning off-screen. A second woman in a lab coat entered the picture, standing behind a floor-to-ceiling clear barrier, black tablet in hand. The tablet was larger than modern models, and something about it seemed crude to Anna. Off-camera, a strong female voice made an announcement. MMD, no failsafe, test number 86, counting down from 10, 9... Lisa spoke over the vid with a creeping horror that Anna felt in her own gut. What is this? What are they going to do? Anna kept her eyes glued to her data lens. She didn't say a word. No failsafe said enough. 4, 3, 2, 1. The woman in the lab coat touched the tablet in front of her, and the sheep rose into the air, its ascent smooth and graceful. It hung several feet above the ground, bobbing its head serenely as it surveyed the room. The woman's fingers contacted the tablet again, and the animal began a slow rotation. It faced away from the camera, progressed to one side, and then came back around again until it appeared to stare straight at them. With a final swift motion, the woman brought the animal down to a soft landing back into the pen. Anna started to speak, and then caught her breath when the woman manipulated the device one last time. With a revolting, wet, tearing sound, the sheep fell to pieces, its blood spilling to cover the no longer white floor.